She won't say it, but her body already has. You just didn't know how to read it until now. You've seen it before. She leans in when you talk, plays with her hair, smiles for no reason, and then acts like nothing happened. It's confusing. 1 minute, it feels like there's something electric between you. The next minute, she's cool and casual, like you're just some guy passing by. And that's when you start questioning yourself. Is she into me? Am I imagining things? Maybe I'm just reading too much into it. Here's the truth. You're not imagining anything. She feels it too, she's just not saying it. Women don't express desire the same way men do. They drop signals, subtle ones, body language, tone, micro-expressions, things that don't sound like, "I want you," but absolutely mean it. And most guys miss those signs entirely. That ends today. In this video, we're breaking down 10 unmistakable signs she's turned on by you, but won't admit it. These are not pickup tricks or shallow guesses. They're rooted in real human behavior, backed by psychology, and sharpened through Stoic awareness, the kind that gives you quiet confidence instead of chasing. You're about to see what most men never do. Let's get into it. Number 1. Her eyes linger longer than they should. You ever catch a woman looking at you, and she doesn't look away right away, but not in a creepy way? More like there's something loaded behind her stare. That's not an accident. When a woman's attracted to you, really attracted to you, her eyes will almost always betray what her words won't, especially when she's trying not to show it. Desire has a way of slipping through the cracks, and it often starts in the eyes. Eye contact is the one thing we can't fully fake. We can force a smile or fake a laugh, but we can't pretend real connection through a stare. When someone holds your gaze and there's tension behind it, that's instinct, that's chemistry, that's real. Let me give you something real. A guy named Michael, 48, lives in Arizona, divorced for 3 years. He works in commercial real estate. He told me about a woman named Rachel, 41, a barista at the coffee shop he stops by every morning. At first, it was all routine, friendly, polite, fast. But lately, something shifted. Rachel would hand him his drink, say her usual goodbye, and then she'd pause, just for a beat. Her eyes would hang on his a little longer than usual. No big expression, no words, just stillness. The kind of stillness you feel. Michael thought he was reading too much into it, but it kept happening. The same soft pause, that second of contact that didn't match the rest of the interaction. And here's what most men do in that moment. They dismiss it. They tell themselves it's nothing. But what if it's not nothing? See, when a woman's turned on emotionally, mentally, physically, she often won't say a word, especially not in public, but her body still reacts. Her eyes scan your face longer. Her gaze slows down. It's like she's trying to take a snapshot of you to replay later. And what you should be watching isn't just how long she looks, but how she looks away. If she glances down, smiles, then shifts her attention, there was something there. If she freezes, then pretends nothing happened, she felt the pull and tried to cover it. That's not imagination, that's reaction. This isn't about playing games. This is about awareness, about seeing what's real and subtle, not just loud and obvious. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Observe without judgment." In moments like these, that's your job. Don't chase it, don't deny it. Just observe and let that truth give you confidence. Back to Michael. One day he decided to stop second-guessing. When Rachel looked at him again, he looked back. He didn't force a smile, didn't say a word, just held her gaze, steady, calm, and she paused. Then smiled, then bit her lip, and then walked away quickly. That was the moment he knew. He didn't need words. The silence told the whole story. So next time a woman holds your eyes longer than seems casual, don't ignore it, don't dismiss it. That second of tension may be louder than anything she'll ever say. Her eyes are speaking. If you're paying attention, you'll hear her loud and clear. Drop a comment and tell me, "I trust instinct," because when you do, You stop chasing signals and start reading them. And keep watching, because this kind of awareness, it opens doors most men never even realize were in front of them. Number 2. She laughs a little too easily. You say something mildly funny, nothing groundbreaking, and suddenly she's laughing like you just delivered a stand-up routine. Not a forced, polite chuckle, a real, full-body laugh. You weren't even trying that hard. So what's going on? It's simple. Attraction changes perception. When a woman's drawn to you, especially when desire enters the picture, her brain looks for reasons to justify that feeling. One of the most common ways it does this: humor. You didn't suddenly become funnier. She just wants to laugh when you're around. There's neuroscience behind it too. Dopamine, the feel-good chemical, floods her system when she's stimulated mentally or physically, and laughter becomes the easiest release. But here's the key. This isn't the kind of laugh she gives everyone. You'll notice it's specific. It shows up more when she's talking to you. It's frequent, it's energized, and sometimes it doesn't even match the joke. That's the tell. Her laugh, in this context, is less about what you said and more about how she feels being around you. It's a release of energy, an involuntary reaction, and that's what makes it powerful. Because desire, real, unspoken desire, doesn't always show up in words. It shows up in behaviors that don't make logical sense unless you know what to look for. Now, don't get this twisted. This doesn't mean every woman who laughs at your jokes is into you. Context matters. Pay attention to how she laughs. Is it too quick? Too frequent? Does she touch her neck or play with her hair while laughing? Does she lean in while doing it? These little cues stack up, one by one, and they point to something bigger. The Stoics were all about observation. They didn't chase feelings, they studied them. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." That applies here. Don't talk yourself into attraction. Watch, listen, read her energy. Women who are interested will often try to act normal, but their emotions leak through in tiny ways. Laughter is one of the safest. It doesn't require commitment. It doesn't reveal anything directly, but it gives her a chance to feel connected, to lower her guard just enough to test the waters. That's why this behavior is so easy to miss. Most men focus on what they're saying. They think they need to impress her, be witty, lead the conversation. But the men who really understand women, they're not just talking, they're watching. They notice when her laugh is just a little too loud, when she repeats your jokes, when she laughs before the punchline, when she smiles with her whole face, then looks down like she didn't mean to. All of that's a language of its own. And when you learn to speak it, you realize you've been surrounded by signals you just didn't know how to interpret. Laughter, in the right context, is one of the clearest signs she's into you, not because you're hilarious, but because you make her feel something she can't fully explain. So next time she laughs at something that barely deserved a smirk, don't ignore it. Pay attention. It might just be the sound of her walls coming down. If that sounds familiar, say it with me. I read reactions, because when you do, you stop wondering what she's thinking and start seeing exactly what she's feeling. And stay tuned, because the next signal, it's even easier to miss and a lot harder to fake. Number 3. She touches her lips or bites them. You're talking, she's listening, and then you notice it. She gently presses her lips together, maybe licks them, maybe even bites the corner, just for a second. No words. Just that small, subtle move. Let me tell you something. That's not a coincidence. When a woman's feeling attraction, especially the physical kind, she becomes more aware of her mouth. It's subconscious. Touching her lips, licking them, biting softly. It's not about the lips themselves. It's about what they represent. Intimacy, sensuality, contact. And in many cases, she doesn't even realize she's doing it. I'll give you a real example. Mark, 52, works in IT consulting out of Denver. Divorced, been single a few years. met Susan, 46, at a weekend leadership retreat. They hit it off during a group exercise, kept talking after the session, nothing flirty, at least on the surface. Mark said he noticed something strange. Whenever he was speaking, Susan would press her lips together, then slowly release them, or trace the rim of her coffee cup with her finger, then mirror the motion with her mouth. She'd bite the corner of her lip, not hard, just enough to notice right when the conversation got deeper. He didn't think much of it at first, but the more it happened, the more obvious it became. She wasn't doing this with anyone else, only with him. And always when the moment between them got just a little more charged. What was happening? Here's the deal. Lips are one of the most sensitive zones on the body. When arousal starts building even lightly, the body finds ways to release the tension without making a scene. That's what those movements are. Little slips, little giveaways. Stoics taught us to observe without overreacting. Seneca once wrote, "The greatest obstacle to living is expectancy." In other words, don't jump to conclusions. But don't ignore what's right in front of you either. That's the balance. When you notice a woman repeatedly drawing attention to her own mouth, especially while focused on you, you're not making it up. You're picking up on something primal. Now, some guys misread this. They think every lip bite is an invitation. It's not. But repeated behaviors, done unconsciously, tied to emotional cues, that's where the truth lives. Mark didn't jump on it. He didn't call it out. He just stayed present, let the conversation flow. And that calm confidence, that non-neediness, only deepened the connection. A week later, Susan asked him to meet for coffee again, and this time there was no confusion, no guessing. It was written all over her body. Here's what you need to remember. When desire starts to rise, the body responds before the mouth speaks. A woman may not say, "I want you," but she'll show it in micro movements, especially around the lips. So if you notice her biting, touching, or softly licking her lips while locking eyes with you, don't call it out. Don't ruin the moment. Just stay cool, be aware, because awareness is power. If you've seen this before, if this sounds familiar in a way you never quite understood until now, drop it in the comments with, "I notice patterns," and keep watching. Because once you start recognizing these physical cues for what they really are, you won't just understand women better, you'll start to understand how much they've already been telling you. Number 4, her voice lowers subtly. Most men don't catch this one because they're too busy focusing on what she's saying, not how she's saying it. But when a woman starts to feel something more than just casual interest, one of the earliest shifts happens in her voice. It drops, softens, slows down. Not dramatically, not like she's whispering, just enough for you to notice something's changed. This isn't performance, it's instinct. When attraction gets involved, especially physical attraction, a woman's vocal tone often becomes warmer, more intimate. It's like she's subconsciously inviting you closer, not with her words, but with her sound. Why does this happen? Biologically, it's linked to arousal. Studies have shown that when a woman is speaking to someone she's attracted to, her voice tends to lower slightly in pitch. It becomes smoother, softer, even slower. It's nature's way of signaling intimacy because loud, fast, or high-pitched speech is linked to alertness or distance. But low, calm tones, that's connection. But this is where it gets subtle. You won't always hear it right away. You'll feel it first. The vibe between you gets quieter, more focused. Her words might be the same, but the delivery hits different. She's not broadcasting anymore, she's tuning in, just to you. And here's what Stoicism teaches us about that kind of moment. Be still, be aware. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When her tone shifts, she's not just reacting to the words in the air, she's reflecting the feelings in her mind. And that shift in color, that's what you're listening for. You'll often notice this change during moments of closeness. Maybe you're standing near each other at a party, the room buzzing around you, but when she talks to you, everything gets quieter. Her voice doesn't need to compete, it just needs to reach. And when she drops her volume, it's an invitation not just to hear her, but to feel her. Of course, you can't read too much into a single sentence. Context matters, but when that lower tone becomes a pattern, and it's only present when she's talking to you, that's no accident. That's a signal. Don't force the moment. Don't overplay it. Stoic confidence means you don't react, you observe, you hold your frame. Let her come into your space instead of chasing hers. And here's a detail most men overlook. When she's interested, her voice doesn't just get softer, it slows down. She's not rushing through the conversation anymore, she's stretching time, giving space, because in her mind, the moment deserves it. So pay attention not just to her words, but to the shape of them, the rhythm, the tone, and ask yourself, who is she really talking to? The room or just you? If you've ever heard that shift, if a woman's voice wrapped around you in a way that felt more than casual, drop this in the comments. I hear intention. And don't go anywhere, because what you're about to learn next might make you rethink every casual gesture you used to ignore. Number 5. She touches her neck or plays with her hair. You're standing there, having a normal conversation, and suddenly she starts twirling her hair or gently brushing her fingers along her neck. You didn't say anything wild, nothing sexy, but her hands just move. And you start wondering, is this just a habit, or is it saying something more? Here's what most guys miss. The neck and the hair are two of the most sensitive zones for women. When she touches them, especially when she doesn't need to, it can be a subconscious way to release built-up energy, nervous energy, flirtatious energy, sometimes even sexual energy. Now let me bring this to life. Brian, 45, runs a small design firm in Chicago. Solid guy, reserved, sharp, never one to assume anything too fast. He told me about a woman he met, Karen, 39, recently separated, works in healthcare. They met at a volunteer event. First few conversations, friendly, casual. But then, something shifted. During their third time volunteering together, Brian noticed Karen kept touching her collarbone when he spoke. Light, slow movements. Then, without realizing, she'd brush her fingers along her neckline, almost tracing invisible lines. A couple times, she'd reach up and tuck her hair behind her ear, even when it was already tucked. He didn't jump to conclusions, but he paid attention. Every time the conversation dipped into something personal, or when he made her laugh there, it was again the touch, the fidget, the small movement that didn't match the rest of her body language. That's the signal. When a woman is attracted to you but doesn't want to say it, her body will find subtle ways to release that tension. Touching her neck or playing with her hair is a kind of nervous discharge. She's feeling something, and her hands react. It's not about grooming or habit. It's about channeling something unspoken. And here's what makes this powerful. She probably doesn't even know she's doing it. Women aren't out here saying, "I'll stroke my neck now to look sexy." That's not how it works. It's primal, it's soft, and it shows up when something inside her is activated, especially when she's feeling a mix of interest and restraint. Brian told me he decided to test it. He didn't say anything flirtatious, he just complimented her insight on a topic they were discussing. Something simple. Karen smiled and reached up, brushing her hair back again. This time, she held it there, just for a second too long. That was all he needed to know. This is where Stoic awareness makes all the difference. You don't need to act on every signal, you just need to see them clearly. As Marcus Aurelius put it, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I will gladly change." That same mindset applies here. Stay open, stay grounded, but don't ignore what's right in front of you. So if her hands are busy when you're near, if she starts tracing her collarbone, playing with her necklace, or running her fingers through her hair without even thinking you're seeing her guard slip, just a little. Next time that happens, don't freeze, don't overthink. Just keep your presence steady, your energy calm, and let her body speak the truth her words might not. And if this sounds like something you've seen but never fully understood, drop a comment and say, I see the signs. Because once you understand these little tells, you start realizing attraction doesn't shout. It whispers. And what's coming next? It's one of the loudest whispers of all if you know how to hear it. Number 6. She gets a little too close. It's subtle. She leans in when she doesn't need to, stands just a few inches closer than most people would. Her knee brushes yours under the table, and she doesn't move away. Maybe she adjusts her seat to be angled toward you, even when the room is wide open. Most guys brush this off. They tell themselves, she's just friendly. She's just expressive. But here's the truth, space is a choice, especially for women. We all have an invisible bubble, personal space that we only let certain people into. And when a woman chooses to shrink that space around you, when she consistently lets you inside her physical comfort zone without flinching or stepping back, that's no accident. This isn't about bumping into someone on a crowded train. This is about voluntary proximity, the kind of closeness that signals, I'm comfortable with you. Or, more accurately, I want to feel more of you. Nay, this kind of body language often flies under the radar, but it's one of the clearest signs that her attraction is growing past casual. Why? Because physical distance isn't just about comfort, it's about safety, permission, intimacy. When a woman gets closer than she needs to, it's because her mind and body have decided they want to. Sometimes it happens gradually. She starts standing closer each time you talk. Other times, it shows up all at once. She leans in to tell you something and stays there. She laughs and gently touches your arm and doesn't pull back. These small adjustments, they're her way of closing the gap without saying a word. From a Stoic lens, this is exactly the kind of moment that demands presence without attachment. Epictetus said, "We have no power over external things, and the good man seeks his happiness in what is his own." What does that mean here? You don't need her to get close. You're not chasing it. But when it happens, you notice it, you stay calm, and you let her actions speak for themselves. Closeness like this is not always sexual, but it is almost always intentional when repeated. She may not fully understand why she's doing it. She may not even be ready to admit how she feels, but her body is already ahead of her thoughts. And this is where men often mess it up. They either ignore it completely, or they react too fast. They lean in too much, break the moment, or worse, call it out and make it awkward. Don't do that. When she gets close, don't rush to fill the space. Just hold it. Let the silence speak. Let the tension rise naturally. And if it keeps happening, if she keeps drifting into your space again and again, you already have your answer. Attraction doesn't always start with words. Sometimes it starts with inches. If you felt that closeness, if you've had moments where she stood just a bit too near and it didn't feel random, leave a comment that says, "I feel presence." Because once you start noticing how space shifts between two people, you'll realize the next sign doesn't just close the gap, it breaks the barrier. Number 7. She fumbles or blushes. You ever notice a woman start acting clumsy around you? Drops her phone, forgets what she was about to say, laughs at herself mid-sentence, looking just a little flustered. Maybe her cheeks go a little red, even if the room isn't warm. That's not just nerves, that's attraction. See, when a woman's attracted to you, but especially when she's not ready to admit it, her body reacts before her mind catches up. Her heartbeat picks up, her nervous system gets triggered, and suddenly, the most basic things like holding eye contact or keeping a sentence straight become harder than usual. Let me tell you a real story. David, 40, is a corporate trainer from Seattle. Smart, emotionally grounded, been through a divorce, rebuilding his life and confidence. He recently met Claire, 35, during a weekend seminar he was hosting. She was confident, composed, knew her stuff. But the moment they had one-on-one time after the session, things shifted. He wasn't doing anything special, just asking her about her work, casually making conversation. But Claire suddenly dropped her pen, twice. She laughed nervously and said, "I'm usually not this clumsy." A few minutes later, while sipping her water, her hand trembled just slightly. David noticed, not just the fumbling, but the blushing. Not a bright red flush, but that soft pink warmth in her cheeks, the kind you get when your body is reacting faster than your brain. That's how attraction leaks out when a woman's guard is still up, through the little cracks in her composure. Here's the key. When a woman blushes or fumbles around you, it's not a sign of weakness. It's a signal that you've gotten past the surface. You've moved out of the polite, professional zone and triggered something real underneath. Now, don't confuse this with general shyness. The context matters. If she's flustered with you, but not with others, you're the variable. If she's usually composed, but gets a little unsteady, only in your presence, there's a reason. Stoicism teaches us not to chase every impression, but to study them. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality, so don't overthink it." Don't let your ego turn every fumble into fantasy, but if the signs are there, observe them with calm awareness. Let her actions show what she won't put into words yet. David didn't flirt back. He didn't tease or press. He just stayed calm, grounded, smiled with warmth. That gave Claire the space to settle in, and by the end of the day, she was the one asking him if he'd grab coffee sometime. So when a woman stumbles on her words, fidgets with her hands, or turns a little pink in your presence, it's not random. It's her body reacting to something she's not ready to say. Yet, if you've ever watched that play out and knew something deeper was happening, drop it in the comments. I read the signs. And keep watching, because what's coming next isn't just physical. It's the moment when the body's already decided and her mind tries to catch up. Number 8. She looks at your lips. This one happens fast, but it says everything. You're mid-conversation, maybe talking about something completely ordinary, what you do for a living, how your weekend went, even something a little deeper. And while you're speaking, she looks at your face, holds your gaze, then her eyes drop. Not to your chest, not to the table, but to your lips. It doesn't last long. Sometimes just a half second. But if it happens more than once, if it keeps showing up between sentences, especially when the room is quiet or the vibe starts to shift, you can be sure of one thing. She's not just listening, she's picturing something. Looking at someone's mouth while they speak is incredibly intimate. It's not just about curiosity, it's about proximity, touch, taste. It's where attention shifts when the mind starts wandering into places the body hasn't gone yet. She might not even realize it, but her subconscious is testing that boundary. Could this happen? Would I let it? Do I want it? The answer, at that moment, is almost always yes. And here's the part most men never realize. This look isn't just about attraction, it's about hesitation. It's her restraint surfacing right next to her interest. She looks, then quickly looks away. But if it keeps happening, it means her body is already a few steps ahead of her thoughts. This doesn't mean she wants you to make a move right away. In fact, if you react too fast, lean in, crack a smug grin, or act like you've won something, you break the entire rhythm. That's why most guys blow it. They either miss the signal completely, or they get overeager and ruin the tension. But a grounded man knows better. A Stoic man sees without chasing. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Receive without pride, let go without attachment." That's your mindset in this moment. You don't need to force anything. You're not clinging to hope. You're simply present, aware, centered. You allow the moment to exist without trying to manipulate it. When you catch her glance at your lips, let it breathe. Let the silence sit a second longer than usual. Keep your voice low and calm. Keep talking like nothing happened. That calm, quiet confidence tells her more than flirting ever could. And if she does it again, eyes flicking down, then back up, especially when she's smiling or listening intently. You've got your answer. She's mentally trying to close the distance. She's not just listening to your voice anymore, she's feeling it. It's her way of saying, I'm interested, but I'm still figuring out how far I'm willing to go. That's why this signal matters so much. It's not the loudest, but it's honest, unfiltered. Her guard is still up, but her focus is already slipping. The more it happens, the more the idea of touching you, kissing you, stops being abstract and starts feeling real. So what should you do? Nothing. That's the power move. Let the tension build naturally. Don't comment on it. Don't act impressed. Just hold space, stay grounded, and keep being fully present. Because when she realizes you saw the signal but didn't rush it, that's when she leans in closer. If you've ever felt that tension, seen her eyes shift and knew exactly what it meant, drop it in the comments. I catch moments. And don't blink now, because the next sign, it's when she stops holding back and starts finding every excuse to close that final gap. Number 9. Her emotions shift suddenly. You've probably been there. 1 minute, everything's light. She's laughing, teasing, in sync with you. Then, suddenly, something shifts. Her mood dips. She gets quiet, withdrawn, maybe even irritated. You didn't say anything wrong. You didn't change the vibe, but she did. This sudden shift in energy isn't always logical, but it's real, and more often than not, it's a strong signal that something deeper is stirring. When a woman's attracted to you, especially if she's trying to hide it, her emotions can start bouncing fast. That tension between wanting and resisting shows up in her moods. Let me give you a real-life example. Mark, 46, a mechanic from Austin, had been casually talking to Elena, 43, a dental assistant he met through mutual friends. At first, their interactions were playful. She laughed at his jokes, made sarcastic little comments, stood close when they talked. But then one night, they were at a small get-together, and things shifted. Mark noticed Elena go from laughing at his story to suddenly going quiet. She pulled back, stared off for a few minutes, then made a comment that sounded almost cold. Something like, "You're always so sure of yourself, huh?" But the tone was off, like she was wrestling with something. Mark thought he'd messed up, but he hadn't. What happened was classic. Elena's emotions were reacting to the intensity building between them. On the surface, it looked like a mood swing. Underneath, it was internal conflict. Attraction was pulling her in one direction, but her walls were pushing back. That creates friction. And that friction spills out in her tone, her energy, her behavior. The thing is, when women experience a strong attraction they're not ready to admit or can't act on, they'll often swing emotionally, from warm to cold, flirty to distant. And it's not because they're trying to mess with you, it's because they don't feel fully in control. And that unsettled feeling can bring up defensiveness, sarcasm, or even random irritation. This is where most guys panic. They either shut down, over-apologize, or try to fix something that isn't broken. But the truth is, nothing's broken. It's just heat. It's just pressure. It's her trying to recenter herself while her feelings are pulling her out of balance. Here's where a Stoic mindset makes all the difference. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." If you can stay calm while she's shifting, you give her the space to settle without judgment. That kind of calm is rare. Most men get rattled, but you hold steady. You don't chase her moods. You observe. You respond only when necessary and with clarity. And more importantly, you don't take it personally. Mark didn't. He just smiled when Elena got cold, didn't defend himself, didn't play her emotional game. He said something light. That's one way to put it. and let her have the space to process. Within 20 minutes, she was back, laughing again, leaning in, and by the end of the night, it was her asking if he wanted to grab coffee the next day. So, if you notice her flip suddenly, don't panic. Recognize it for what it is. It's not rejection, it's resistance. And if you stay composed, confident, and clear, she'll feel it. And that's what helps her shift back. If you've ever experienced that sudden change in energy, and you knew it wasn't really about you, drop a comment below that says, "I stay steady." And listen, everything so far has been building up to one final signal. The last one doesn't hide, it doesn't flicker, it doesn't shift, it locks in. So stick around, because next you'll know for sure. Number 10. She go quiet mid-conversation. You're talking. Things are flowing. There's rhythm, connection, maybe even some playful back and forth. And then out of nowhere she goes quiet. Not like someone who's bored. Not like she's waiting for her turn. This is different. It's like she just disconnects. Her eyes soften. Her focus drifts. Her body's still there, but something behind her expression changes. That silence, that pause mid-conversation, that's not a sign of disinterest. It's a response, a powerful one. And it's often one of the clearest signs that she's feeling something she doesn't fully understand or doesn't yet want to say out loud. When a woman is emotionally or physically stirred, especially if she's been trying to keep things friendly or casual, there comes a point where her body starts signaling before her thoughts do. That sudden silence is her nervous system pulling back to process. It's not that she has nothing to say, it's that what she wants to say might change everything. Let's look at it from her side. When she goes quiet, she's not losing interest. She's sensing a shift. Maybe your tone got a little deeper. Maybe you moved a bit closer. Maybe the space between you suddenly felt smaller. Whatever it was, something just pulled her out of the moment and into her own head, and now she's stuck there, running all the feelings she can't quite name yet. This is what most men misunderstand. They try to fill the silence, crack a joke, re-engage, get the energy back on track. But that silence is the track. That pause is the moment her attraction hits a deeper level. It's when the mental filters start breaking down and the emotional signals rise up. It's a form of vulnerability. A woman going quiet mid-conversation, especially when the connection was good just seconds ago, is often trying to regulate herself. Her thoughts might be racing, her heartbeat might be up, and her mind is flashing questions like, why am I reacting like this? Do I want this to go further? Can I trust this feeling? And here's where you make or break the moment. The average guy will either rush in with nervous energy or misread her quietness as rejection. But a Stoic man knows to do the opposite. You slow down, you match her energy, you allow the silence to exist, because within that silence, her desire is doing the talking. Seneca once wrote, "A man who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary." You don't need to suffer the silence. You don't need to fear it. You hold your frame. You trust what's unfolding without forcing it. You let her stay quiet, knowing it's not absence, it's tension. A beautiful kind of tension. Let's go deeper with this. When she goes quiet, don't ask if she's okay. Don't try to pull her back to where you were. Instead, lean back slightly. Maintain eye contact if she gives it. Let your energy remain calm, open, grounded. What you're communicating without saying a word is that you're not afraid of intimacy. You're not afraid of her reaction. You're not afraid of her wanting more, because that's what this is about. Wanting more presence, more connection, more of you. And when she realizes you're not jumping to conclusions or pressing her for an explanation, that's when her defenses lower. That's when her silence doesn't feel risky, it feels safe. A woman in her 30, 40, or 50, especially one who's experienced heartbreak, disconnection, or men who only wanted one thing, knows the difference between a man who pushes and a man who simply is. When you show her that you're not afraid of her stillness, you show her something rare, emotional confidence. In that quiet moment, you become unforgettable, not because you said something brilliant, but because you didn't say anything unnecessary. You let her feel, you gave her space, and that speaks volumes more than words ever could. So next time she goes quiet mid-conversation, don't panic, don't fill the space, just sit in it, trust it. Let her process what she's feeling. And when she comes back, and she will, you'll notice a softness in her tone, a difference in her eyes. She's not just talking to you now, she's connecting, and that's when you know. She's no longer just in the conversation. She's in it with you. So now you've seen it, 10 signs that speak louder than words. Most men miss them, some overreact. But the man who understands subtlety, who's grounded, calm, and aware, he catches what others don't. He doesn't force the moment. He doesn't chase. He notices. And that makes all the difference. The more tuned in you are, the more these quiet signals become obvious. Because attraction isn't always loud. Sometimes it's in a pause, a glance, a shift in energy. And when you stay present, when you hold your frame, you invite more than attention. You invite trust. If this kind of insight is helping you see things differently, make sure you subscribe. This channel is here to sharpen your awareness, strengthen your mind, and help you move through life and relationships with more clarity, more control, and more confidence. Thanks for being here. I'll see you again tomorrow.